there are a few different things that in my research I'm pursuing. Obviously, I do a lot of my trials are more focused on MDS, and since those are in progress, it's not probably worth talking about quite right now. But beyond that, like there are two subpopulations that we look at a little bit more extensively here, which is treatment-related myeloid disease, or diseases like MDS and AML, and how do we improve outcomes of that. So that is a very particular initiative here. In addition to looking at patients specifically of Hispanic origin and seeing how their disease is different. We do know they get diagnosed at an earlier age at this point based on the available information. What's less clear is if their outcomes are different from your Caucasian patients overall, and also improving clinical trial enrollment for minority populations. So whatever might be relevant, we can talk about that. But that's some of the more Sylvester specific things or my research specific things. So one of the big initiatives at Sylvester that I work on is how do we include minority populations on clinical trials more effectively, both for acute myeloid leukemia and MDS. We know that there are some differences in the characteristics of MDS in patients of Hispanic origin. We don't necessarily know the full depth of what we can know in the future just because it was not well indexed on prior clinical trials. And it's a work in progress at this time. But one of the important initiatives, given that the largest growing population in the U.S. is of Hispanic origin, is to better understand both the needs of these patients as well as drug effects of these patients on these patients, because drugs don't work the same on every subset of patient, meaning your racial background, your ethnic background, all can have effects on how you metabolize a drug, how the drug treats you as a patient, and for us to know which drugs will work more effectively in particular subsets are important. So we're working on improving awareness, improving, materials and accessibility to trials, and then also beyond that, understanding kinetics of drugs more specifically in Hispanic patients. So much of our testing for patients, the information where new drugs come from is from genome-wide sequencing, proteomics, these large databases, basically, which have information. And quite sadly, the vast majority of these patients are of European origin. So when we are first designing drugs, they are all focused on patients coming from a very particular subset, a very specific geographic distribution. So this kind of points us towards the fact that we may be designing drugs, not for everyone. Now, because of that, the platform that does all of these analyses has encouraged other minority populations to be more involved. But even now, it's less than 5% of that larger database, particularly historically underserved populations. So improving that initial source data is really important to make good advancements in drugs. And then beyond that, making sure that every drug is studied in a diverse population also becomes important, because what might benefit one population may not benefit to the same extent another. There are historical reasons that, underserved populations may not want to participate in clinical trials, primarily because they would feel like guinea pigs, because of drug development during the Holocaust, or, on Black patients in the US in particular, or really anywhere. This has become something that is of concern to many minority patients. And I think what we need to now remedy is to make sure that they are getting the best treatment as their white counterpart, and help try and remedy this like discrepancy that has been created by historical wrongdoings.